Over the past few days, I've been recording, doing a little tour of the garden, just to share what it looks like in my grow zone, going from the end of spring into the beginning of summer. We got about a week left in spring, and just wanted to give you a tour. Check me out.
This part of my end of spring, beginning of summer garden tour is all the crops that reach the furthest south of the garden. Under this row cover was my go-to area during the winter and spring for cool season crops like collards, lettuce. There's also still kale, beets, radish, and turnips. I'll be pulling many crops in this area and removing weeds. I have more cool season crops towards the back behind the cucumbers and watermelons. I have broccoli, some albino beets, and more romaine lettuce. There are also passion vines flowering that grow natively in my backyard and is highly invasive. Next to those row covers are the purple Cherokee tomatoes. In the back further down there are less spicier peppers I recently transplanted. I also have basil, nasturtium, and honeycomb tomatoes next to those, and cucumbers, bell peppers, and habaneros heading down towards the left. This is part of my end of spring, beginning of summer garden tour, sharing some of my garden upkeep tasks and what the season change can look like in my hardiness zone. I have 3 apple trees furthest west of the fence, and furthest north is a peach tree. End of spring garden tour for today is all the plants on the perimeter of my garden fence, and those kind of floating in their own space. Along the west side of the fence, there's spearmint and chocolate mint growing in the gutters, and thyme growing on the north side in its own gutter. Towards the center of the fence, I have a few more potatoes, an apocalypse scorpion pepper, and a couple Concord grape plants in ground. And I just purchased these plants earlier this year, and they are both producing grapes. In this area, plus other random spots, I have pineapples planted in containers. Towards the northeast perimeter of the fence, I have gutter planters at the top with strawberries, lettuce, and lemon balm. And towards the ground along the perimeter, I have chamomile going all the way down until I reach the far east side of the fence. And on that side of the fence, I have a compost bin, some lemon trees starting to grow new foliage, and peppermint along the east perimeter in the gutter. Going to the section directly across, there are a couple more pineapples planted in containers, gladiolus and rose area. And in the raised bed, there's dill, volunteer basil, volunteer tomato, and rosemary. I'm sharing what my garden looks like this year, ending spring going into summer. This is garden bed number 1 that has sugar peas growing up and carrots growing down in neat rows. The garden tour is on the update of the 4 raised beds that I have been companion planting pretty heavy in. In the same bed as the peas and carrots, I have a purple carrot along with other rainbow mixed carrots growing with nasturtiums, basils, and cherry tomatoes. That's raised bed number 1. Moving on to number 2. I have potatoes growing that I'll be harvesting over the next couple of weeks. Yukon Gold variety and Adirondack Blue. And in bed number 3, I have rows of carrots in different varieties, and in between those are rows of radish and beets. In the 4th bed, which I saved the most varieties for last, is kale, romaine lettuce, Roma tomatoes, and Cherokee purple tomatoes, zinnias, and nasturtium. Beets, parsley, cilantro, volunteer mint, which I'm constantly removing. That's the update on the 4 raised beds. After I pull the potatoes, I'm going to amend the soil of that raised bed. This is the garden tour update of what my garden looks like this year, ending spring going into summer season. I have more habaneros growing in the front row of this area of my garden, companion planted with basil and parsley. All the middle rows have bell peppers grown with the same companion plants as the habanero. The thing about the garden in the summer is maintenance, constant pest control, and constant weed control, and the harvest is delicious reward for all my efforts. And in the row towards the back, I have beefsteak tomatoes grown with basil, parsley, and marigold. In this area is my first ever built garden bed that I currently have cilantro bolting going to seed and green onions also producing seeds. In the raised beds, I have quite a few parsley plants growing, the flat and curly variety. Alongside this raised bed is the bed with garlics that I started to harvest and will probably have all of them harvested by the time summer starts. Then I'll amend the soil and transplant my eggplants into this area. Here I have rows of corn and broad beans planted with each other. They make great companions. The varieties of corn are the early bantam and the glass gem. I'm sharing what my garden looks like this year and in spring going into summer. Little row covers, which are south of the beans and corns, are about 7 watermelon plants. Golden Gold variety, which have yellow skin and yellow flesh. This area of the tour is my first fenced-in garden that I constructed and really got more connected with gardening. I have ready to be harvested cucumbers growing on some plants, with basil planted in between. Also on the left side of the fence there are 2 rows of habanero peppers, plus a row of Carolina Reapers, and towards the very front, tomatoes, black crim, and beefsteak varieties, I believe. And like the cucumbers, I have basil planted in between all rows along with some parsley plants. I remember how hard the soil used to be back here. The conditions have improved a lot. Initially I used a shovel and pick to work the soil, then upgraded to a gas-powered cultivator, and later learned the no-till method.